All the folks out there want to know, is Disney's era of dominating finally coming to an end? Have Comcast, Universal, the other companies out there, have they finally succeeded in sending Disney back into second place, third place, or who knows where? Generations of families have been raised on the Disney movies, but that may now be coming to an end. We're answering cues from you. We're celebrating 40,000 subscribers. Let's get into those questions right now.
Indie Phantom says, great work, Pro. As a physical media fan, I think we are in a golden age. 3 formats still thriving, and Disney even backtracking and bringing out our D+ shows. Will you guys make a deep dive video into this potential renaissance, and do you agree there is one?
Well, I think there's a renaissance in terms of consumers wanting it. However, I think that the corporations themselves, they're very interested in killing this. I'm not sure that it's a great idea anymore, but they are fully committed to streaming, and they're also fully committed to the idea that they will continue to own the media, and you will only be able to purchase some sort of license, rental, long-term usage of that media, but they want to ultimately be the owners, whereas with a piece of physical media, you actually take ownership of that item. It's a little bit fuzzy some places, but essentially they want control.
And they're desperate.
Indeed.
Materialistic says, congratulations on the milestone. Do you see any chance of Tim Burton working with Disney again? I'd love to see his talents return to another animated project.
We know Tim Burton is working on Beetlejuice 2, and he has been open to doing sequels. He's very talented, of course. I would love to see Tim Burton come back and potentially do a new Nightmare Before Christmas. It doesn't have to be a direct sequel, but if he wants to take on another holiday in the same style, then I think that would be very cool. I hope that Tim Burton will join Disney again. I just hope that Disney will let him be Tim Burton. When he does so, the Dumbo thing did not turn out well.
Nope. Richard Martin says, congratulations on 40K. Given how Universal may be the most profitable movie studio this year, how will other studios fare trying to compete?
Well, this is a fantastic question. It gets to the theme of the video today. Many of you out there want to know, is Universal now the dominant company on the block? And I have to say that if you look at the way things are going, this certainly could be the case. There are many studios out there that would like to take a shot at this. I don't think that Sony is in a strong position to capitalize. The same goes for some of these other studios and corporations. Paramount, maybe not so dominant, but Universal, I think, really has the chance now to knock Disney down. This will be the first year in a very long time that Disney has not placed in the top 3 in terms of box office films, and Disney is not showing nearly as strongly as usual in the top 10 at all. So there is a chance now to see a sea change in who is the best and who dominates the market.
Brian Watts says, congrats, Pro. Have you ever thought about having Kevin Perger of Defunctland on? I'd be very interested to hear his take on Disney's current park situations. I'm sure a conversation between you two would be great.
Well, we would love to have Kevin on the channel, and we have, of course, managed to have a very large roster of individuals coming in and out of the Pro Show live every Thursday, 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We've had some guest stars who we just think have been absolutely fabulous. And we would love to add people like Kevin to that list. And we are working on it each and every week, lining up fantastic shows and fantastic conversations for all of you. Credit goes to Jonas J. Campbell. He is the producer of the show, and he's reaching out all the time. So who knows? Maybe Kevin will be on very soon.
Jason's Barnes says, I've never been a YouTube member until now. Love your content. Love your guests. Any chance you could get Disparu to join your panel?
Well, same as before, we are always eager to have new panelists join on because they bring new ideas and they bring new ways of thinking about any given topic. And so, sure, we would absolutely love to see that happen. And as this channel goes on, as we endeavor to explain entertainment, I am sure that some of your favorite content creators will join us from time to time.
Ryer Goddard, congrats on the channel's continued success. The ongoing strike shows no one misses the late night shows. YouTube has made them largely irrelevant, and they are all very biased towards one side politically. Do you think there's a chance some of them might not come back once the strike wraps up?
You know, late night television was largely driven by the memory of Johnny Carson and his irrepeatable act that he pulled off for a very long time. Late night survived under Letterman and Leno. It was good, but it was never at the same level once Johnny Carson retired. And then after that second generation came through, wow, was there ever a drop? I'm not trying to be offensive to any of the late night hosts who are current, but I think this does largely end the era of late night. If it does return after the strike, it will not be what it once was, and it may not have even been ever since. So it's a sad thing. We needed, I think we actually need late night, and it was enjoyable for everybody to go to bed and get a few laughs before they shut off the TV and spend some time with their loved ones, but not so great anymore.
Oh. Cuban Superman says, if this is where we post our questions, then here's mine.
It is.
If you had the chance to restore any ride across the four WDW parks to its prime glory, which would it be, and which version of it?
Splash Mountain would be the one to restore to its prime glory as it was in the early 90s. And if that one's off the table, then Journey into Imagination version 1. There
we go. William DiStefano says, through their creative...
Steve!
I'm sorry. Through their creative endeavors, could Disney have damaged some Lucas IPs like Willow, Indiana Jones to the point where they might consider outside offers for those brands? Yep. In the past, Disney has said they're focused on core properties, but Willow and Indy are just names now. Whatever dreams they once held at Disney look dead. Everything at Disney looks dead right now.
They could, Willow could be for sale, I suppose, but the problem is now, you're exactly right. The damage they've done to it means that the price that it could garner is so low that it would be embarrassing to sell it.
I bet you Willow probably even before would only have gone for maybe 50 million or less.
Yeah, it may go negative now. Disney might have to pay somebody else to take it.
Yep.
For Indiana Jones, no, they're not going to sell Indiana Jones. It gets too messy with the parks, for one, and for number two, it would humiliate absolutely Lucasfilm. They don't want Lucasfilm to be a studio that is the subject of mockery, even once the leadership there leaves in the future. So,
Eclipse Warlord says, is there any company making classic animation anymore, or are we stuck with CGI only? I think they're basically stuck with YouTubers.
So there are companies out there doing classic animation. However, the problem is there are no studios that I'm aware of which are doing animation at the level that we saw during the heyday of 2D animation. There's no studio out there that is creating 2D animation in the way that we saw animation done during perhaps the Disney Renaissance and later. And what that means is that when we get movies like Enchanted 2, you'll notice that the animation there is really bad. And it's much, much worse than the first Enchanted. Reason for that is there's nobody doing that anymore. And so we've largely killed that trade. It's really sad. You can get some very small projects where there are a few animators left at Disney who have the ability to come in and do a short clip of animation. I'm reminded of the tattoos on Maui from Moana. But in terms of a full-fledged, even an animated short done in the original styles at the highest level of animation, no, we really can't do that anymore. And you would have to restart an entire group of animators who would study and practice and learn. The wisdom and the knowledge of that are gone. Wow, that was a very negative answer, wasn't it? Sorry.
Perfect. Meta Hun says, seeing how Charter just revived the cable business, we need to know the most important thing. Has Lauren ever seen fanfic Star Wars versus Warhammer 40K? He probably has, knowing him. And he probably know every scene and artifact found in that.
He would know every comma that's in the script. Well, I will ask Lauren. Lauren is supposed to be on a video tomorrow regarding Star Wars, and so we'll have to come back to this and ask Lauren. Lauren, if you're watching this video, please remind me, though.
Monica's says, congratulations. My question is, what do you think are possible consequences if the ongoing strikes aren't resolved by the end of 2023 for both sides?
For the end of 2023, which is looking more and more likely, unfortunately, what it means is that you'll probably see the people on the union side, their bank accounts getting to zero, or they're having to now borrow and borrow and borrow to survive. That is not good. You'll also see some of the institutional talent leaving and going back to their hometowns or to other places where they think they can find work because they just can't survive in Southern California without an income. On the corporation side, I don't think that you'll see much at all. The only consequence for them is that they'll continue to go out and buy up vast amounts of international content that they can then retrofit in some way to present to Western markets. It will impact them at the box office. The longer this goes on, the more it'll impact there. And it will probably be a huge detriment to theaters over time. But ultimately, I do think that the leverage is on the side of the corporations. I don't say that because I'm rooting for them to succeed. I just think that in terms of where this goes, the actors, the writers, they don't have the best hand to be played. That's my opinion. I'm sure we could have some guests on who would disagree, and some of those guests we would highly respect. But as for now, that's how I see it.
I'm pegging this thing in May of 2024 for the reason that California just did the wild card and is now paying for the people to strike. So that was the thing that no one expected to really see coming, and now it's happening.
Here's the thing. We believe at this point the strike has cost the industry $1.5 billion, and according to many estimates, the state of California itself has lost
6
orders of magnitude more.
Yeah.
Now, when the state of California pays for people to continue striking, the state of California sort of deserves whatever comes their way if this goes on until mid-2024. And if it goes on until mid-2024, the entertainment industry in the United States will be altered dramatically. So,
which isn't a bad thing. Paul 12,000 says, I just saw all the updated ideas with Disney World parks, but they have ditched the ones for Disneyland, and with all the financial fallout that they've recently had, what % chance of all these updates do you think they will have? My guess is they would be very low to no chance with all the problems.
Most of the things we saw were what we call blue sky concepts. And what that means is that Disney presented you with ideas. Those are not things that are actually going to happen. And in fact, the blue sky ideas they presented to us last year, we now see are no longer planned at all. The Beyond Big Thunder Mountain Railroad expansion, for example, that had Encanto there, it had Coco there. Well, guess what? Those have now been moved to Animal Kingdom, and they're no longer the same. And yeah, the Animal Kingdom plans, they're also blue sky. And what does that mean? It means that the pixie dusters out there, it means that the pro-Disney bloggers out there, that they will carry this as if it's real. It really isn't. It's no more exciting to me than if a best friend who has very little money in his bank account comes to me and says, hey, check out this beach home I'm thinking about buying. I don't put a lot of stock into it.
Aaron Kirkleman.
Kelman.
Sure. Second question, if I may. Do you think a Knights of the Old Republic Revan movie or Darth Bane trilogy films based off of the book's source material and followed to the T could save the Star Wars franchise?
The way to save Star Wars is to do something to get rid of the sequel trilogy. I don't say that as someone who is extreme, and thinks that Disney will do that, or I'm not saying that as someone who, holds some sort of crazy level of hate for the sequel trilogy myself. I think it's, utterly trash when it comes to, writing, and I don't think it has much merit at all. But I'm looking at it from a marketplace standpoint, and the market has spoken. As long as that exists, Disney is taking a pittance of what they would make otherwise. So if I'm an investor, I'm demanding to get rid of the thing that's impeding me from making money. And Disney should be doing that. But Disney has an ideological hold on keeping the sequel trilogy as is. Now, could these other things save Star Wars? No, but they could help. They could at least be something that fans could enjoy because they're far enough away from a galaxy far, far away in the time that people despise. And that is, anytime that you get close to Luke Skywalker, you're going to lose a ton of fans because nobody wants to see what happens to Han, Luke, and Leia when they're utterly stripped of their heroic journeys and ends.
Alan Wagner says, with the addition of Disney dining card for special vacation resort dates, could we see them go back to PIN codes out of desperation to bring stateside families to Florida parks?
Well, absolutely. You definitely could see that. And you're starting to see that they have major desperation to pull in particular areas of Europe. And they're offering tremendous dining packages to those individuals to try to get them to come over to Florida to the parks. What happened here is that after the worldwide shutdowns, Disney decided that they could extract as much money as possible out of the wallets of international travelers starving to get out and explore the world. If they chose Disney World, Disney would extract as much money out of them as possible while providing as little good services and fun as they could. We've had Josh Harris on here who's taken a look at it. Disney World, at least in terms of Magic Kingdom and beyond, provides the least amount of value in his estimation and in mine that it ever has. And so I think that has largely soured everyone, because once you do that to guests, once they realize that it's cumbersome to go, and then once you're there, you're not having the fun that you once did, people go and they tell their friends, they tell their family, and it doesn't take too many years. It doesn't take too many times of you hearing that from several of your friends out there. If they keep saying, oh man, Disney is not what it once was, it doesn't take long for people to say, you know what, I'm not going to spend $1,000 a day to go there and take my family. I think I'll pass.
Michelle C says you have nice shoulders and that you've been clearly working out.
Well, thank you so much. I try. All that disc golf I've been playing.
There you go. Irate Specialist says, congrats on 40K and the start of the new channel. Any advice for someone looking to start their own?
So my piece of advice for starting your own channel, first of all, you need to cover something that you will enjoy, because you're going to be doing it a lot if you want to be successful. You don't have to want to be successful. This can be just a fun hobby. But if you want to really drive your numbers higher, then what you're going to need to do is be consistent, release on a schedule, and you're going to need to bring energy and fun. You need to talk to people as if they're right there, because they sort of are. You just can't see them and they can't see you necessarily. And you need to value each and every person who comes to your video and treat them with the value that they deserve. Those are some of the things that you can do. We could get into really specific stuff like metadata and when are the best times and what topics should you cover and thumbnail theories and all of that. But I think the essence is in the first two that I've provided.
Aaron's first question was, this question is for Lauren specifically, but I'd like to hear everyone's thoughts. Have you read the George Lucas Shadow Trilogy books? I have not. And that are sequel books to the original Willow film. And if Disney had followed that source material to a T, do you think Disney could have made them into the successful sequel series as compared to the pile of junk we got for them?
It is official, Lorne. If you are watching this video, I keep telling you that you are a fan favorite. I keep telling you the people love you, Lorne.
And,
Lorne, you got a second
Lauren
question
says
here.
something like this,
answer.
and he says no.
Lorne is utterly kind and utterly knowledgeable in everything that I ever ask him about.
He's a
it's
freaking
incredible.
genius.
Well, when I say that Lorne is a genius at Star Wars, and then we go on to some other topic that I don't think Lorne would have any concept of. You could talk about astrophysics, and Lorne would suddenly be like, well, let me tell you about super polarities. And you're like, oh my gosh, seriously, Lorne?
Yeah. He's random, like in a great way. JRG Project says, question. That's the point of this. There has been talk about Disney being bought out by another company, an Apple or another conglomerate. In that event, would Apple just retain the IPs and a dedicated parks company like the Oriental Land Company would take over Disney World Land? Apple doesn't have the slightest idea how to run a park. Also, at this point, is it even worth it to buy? It could be just as toxic as Bud is currently. You can't even give that beer away.
JRG, what a well-timed question. And it's well-timed because up until this point, I have said that there's a 99% chance that Disney will not be bought out by another company. And I have hinged that 1% on the following. I have said that if Disney is ever to be bought out, and if that is ever to be the plan, that we would see Disney begin to sell large chunks of the company. And because we had not been seeing that, I've said that they're not going to be bought out. Valiant Renegade has said the same. However, Monday afternoon, at the time of this recording, we plan to talk about what we believe is, in fact, Disney beginning to sell huge chunks of the company. So I'm willing to move this now to maybe 95% not be bought out, 5% will be bought out, maybe 90-10, I'm not sure, but I'm adjusting because we've received information that Disney is preparing to sell large chunks of the company, restructure parts of the company, and hang tight. We're going to talk about it real soon.
There you go. Vixeris says, does anyone know why Universal is closing so much earlier lately? Most Disney that aren't Animal Kingdom say 9 to 10, and Uni is hitting 7 or 6 with 8 at the outside.
Well, Vixeris, my understanding of what's going on there is that we are not in the peak vacation time, and much of what's being trafficked around Universal Studios is local Floridians. And so they lose value in trying to stay open late when the crowd levels are lowered because we're not in peak season. And a lot of those Floridians want to get back home. They don't want to stay out real late unless they're doing one of the special events like what you mentioned with Halloween Horror Nights. So I think that's what's happening is Universal is trying to be efficient with their expenditures. And once we get back into peak season, they'll be staying open late again.
Coach Dragon says, I'm going to be in Nashville for vacation. Congratulations on the milestone. It was a long journey to get here, despite some on Twitter doubting, thinking you're all negative. When that's not the case, then I would ask there's a desperation within the Pixie Duster to prove you wrong on the Disney coverage because of Wish movie. Why is there so much desperation from these Pixie Dusters, leading to some trying to bug Disney cast members and other employees who have nothing to do with the movie, as myself, who like Disney despite being neutral today? Is the behavior we're seeing doing more harm than good with the type of behavior we're seeing from these Pixie Dusters? Does it make it look bad on other Disney fans who are casual?
All right, so 2 things I would say on this. First, I hope you had a wonderful time in Nashville, Tennessee. There's so many great things to do in that city and such a fun place. So I hope you had a great time. The second thing that I would say is, of course, folks, don't bother cast members. Don't be rude or annoy anyone if you can possibly avoid it. I mean, that's crazy. As for the Pixie Duster crowd, I'm not here to disparage anybody. I think that what we are trying to do with that Park Place, what we're trying to do with the Valiant Renegade channel, my channel, is different, right? We're not attempting to convince Disney to give us little exclusives over and over and over, and they need that. That's what
not with their content.
Yeah, well, we're not, and so it's 2 different audiences. They're aiming for the people who are they're all in on Disney and all they want is positive Disney, and they click on the video and they want positive Disney, by gosh. And we're here to tell you the truth as best we can. We're not here to give you corporate narratives or spin. And so 2 different ideas.
Thomas Owen says, can you set up a Mexican Iron Man and Elf meetup?
Oh, that would kill me.
Space Dave, if you get to 100K before the end of the year, are you buying a yacht? Congrats on 40.
Well, and unfortunately, they don't give you yacht money every time you hit a milestone. That would be great. I might buy Bob Iger's and help him reach, carbon net zero. I'm sure that's a goal for him, despite the fact that he's flying all over the world and getting on those yachts. He really means it when he's trying to save the world from climate change. But if we get to 100K, we will have a celebration. It just probably won't involve a yacht and me with flippy floppies.
Lemon Light says, do you think that Disney is going to go bankrupt? I just found out today from another source, Disney is wanting to have people pay $1,500 for a Disney movie. Well, I can say that $1,500 is from Walmart.com, and it is for 100 DVDs from Disney. And that is a joke. Is Disney going to go bankrupt?
DVDs,
No. 100
DVDs that you can already get for very cheap at a yard sale. 100 DVDs that are already available on Disney Plus. So I don't, that's a nice thing that they put out, I guess.
Oh, you get a hat too, though.
You get a hat. I don't know how many people are going to buy that. But will Disney go bankrupt? No.
They'll get sold before they go bankrupt.
Yes, worst case scenario is they would get sold. So.
Sora Matt says, do you feel sometimes the amount of Marvel and Star Wars chat is overkill? I think a lot of the newer videos, not necessarily Disney business, but the actual IP talk itself, feels like trudging the same old ground over and over, and it boils down to the same thing. Star Wars is dead, Marvel is dying, and we as fans are sad by this.
All right, let's pause there, and then we'll go forward. So there are times when I think the Marvel and Star Wars chat is overkill. I think when you stay on the same topic over and over and over, but I also think that you have to listen to the audience. And here on this channel and on that Park Place and other channels that are successful, what we do is we look for feedback truly from the audience. So what is the like to dislike ratio? how many views are happening, what's the click rate on each video. And so, for example, we stayed with the Indiana Jones topic for a while because looking into the data that we had, people were hungry for it, even at a point where we said, well, we've covered this already. And so then what that does is it inspires you to try to find new angles that you can cover it so that you're bringing something new to the table, but you're also satisfying the folks out there who, they're, for whatever reason, they want you to discuss this one particular thing. I'll give you an example, though. This is a very honest example. Sorry, Matt. We don't do a lot of Kathleen Kennedy retirement videos because people are so annoyed by her, and they're annoyed that for years people have predicted it, that even when we talk about what we think are accurate predictions of when she might go, the engagement is lower there because people are just so tired of her. And so that's an example of one topic that we don't hit very often. When we get really solid info, we feel like, oh, we've got to talk about it. But we do so a little bit with a little quiver in us because we're like, they don't want us to do this anymore. So
I, for one, am always excited whenever you guys talk about the brighter side of entertainment, whether it was The Legend of Zelda, Mario, Universal Epic Universe updates, the Universal Park Experience as a deep dive, Harry Potter, and what Zaslav has in store. Will we be seeing more content in the future where there is more focus on uplifting and positive things coming in, and not just what Clownfish calls another daily dose of dismal Disney? I can say, to address that, in the back channels, everyone is trying to be positive. Believe it or not, it might feel like a drudge fest sometimes. And if that's the case, I mean, not to say don't watch any of our stuff, but if you need to take a week off, because that's what I have done in the past myself. There's no harm in doing that. Find some other things and enjoy them. But at the same time, everyone is actually trying to find, especially these guys, they are trying to find the positive stuff and not just hate click.
Yeah, and some of those positives lately have been we've celebrated One Piece and how immensely successful it has been. We've talked about how well Netflix has been doing in terms of their retention of shows. We applauded and just truly stood up and said, wow, when it came to The Equalizer 3, that is an awesome movie, one of the greatest movies of the year. And so, yeah, we definitely like to give praise. The problem is we're in the midst of a strike, and that means that the content is really slow in terms of what Hollywood is putting out, and Disney at the same time is making these horrible, terrible decisions. I mean, you don't get to a situation where the company has dropped half of its stock value, without a company really making major blunders, and they don't seem to be stopping. And so every day what we have to do is we have to look at the full breadth of entertainment news, and then we have to rank order. What do we think is the most important? What does the audience want to hear about the most? And then we also, try to think about those negative to positive ratios of news coverage. And so we'll continue to try to find those fun stories. We need this strike to get over with so we can talk about Zelda, so we can talk about Metroid, so we can talk about, the Shrek franchise being rebooted. But until the strike ends, we're kind of stuck talking about some of the inside baseball stuff when it comes to the corporations. So we'll continue to try new ways to find fun stuff to talk about, and we're inspired by that question. Thank you.
JDG, what is Disney's breaking point, or are there investments in DEI, ESG already past the point of no return?
This is my guess. It's my estimation. If Disney were to get into the low 70s or the 60s in terms of their stock price, that's the breaking point. I think at that point you would see total revolution inside the investment community. You would see total upheaval inside Disney, and they would have had it with Bob Iger. Now, until we get there, I don't think we're at the breaking point, but we're on the precipice. And that CNBC article we covered, that's an example of being on the precipice. That humiliated everybody inside Disney, even to the point of relaying private conversations between Iger and his wife. And just guessing here, folks, I don't think they're happy about that.
Benjamin 15 says, will Disney ever stop to be fully woke in their politics and therefore ticking off at least half the fan base?
I predict either 15 months from now or 15 years.
There we go. Josh Hammond says, you have a nice chin.
Thank you, Josh.
Kathleen Morrison says, let's pretend woke stops tomorrow. Disney is in debt, still have nothing good in the wings. The pipeline is dry due to writers, actors strike, and Mario parks are going to open soon. You have nothing to counter it. What should Disney do to weather the perfect storm?
Okay, so you've asked. So you've put Disney in a bind here, which they're in, but in this scenario, which is likely to happen, it's probably too late. Disney will have to take their lumps. I mean, Princess Peach Castle will be the castle in Orlando. It won't be Cinderella Castle.
Mm-hmm.
So, what could Disney do? Well, they've already passed the point of no return with Splash Mountain, so they can't stop that. That would be one thing they could do. They can't do that. Gosh, I don't know what they can do in that window. They can come back, right? So 4 to 5 years after that, they can start working on some things now that are awesome, and they can restore some of the values that made people love the parks in the first place. But again, that's 4 to 5 years away. I guess Disney could untangle some of the cumbersome My Disney app stuff. That would be one thing, but I don't think that would fully, counter what Universal is going to be bringing with Mario. And my gosh, look how popular Mario Wonder is about to be. Look how popular the Princess Peach game is. Look how popular Nintendo Switch is about to be as they release their next console information coming. Disney's not in a good spot there, and we'll be covering it.
No, Disney needs to make some good commercials, and those commercials are called good movies.
Mm-hmm.
Avon Drew says, I'd love to know where the proverbial bottom is for Disney. I feel like there's a
In the 60s. In the 60s.
Right. I know there's a few years of content in the pipeline, and 1 year of failure, such as we have experienced, can't just turn around. IP drive theme parks. Theme parks continue to decline. That's where I just said they need to have some good commercials.
They're spending all their money in China. I mean, they're putting all their money into the Chinese parks. They have spent a little bit in Disneyland Paris. It's improved. They, Tokyo Disney, of course, is owned by the Oriental Land Company, and they never stop maintaining that at excellence. But the domestic parks, yeah, they're in decline. They're in serious decline. It's not a small amount. It is across, it's not just the attractions. I don't want to disparage, I want to be careful what I say here, but I'll just say this. It is not an isolated thing within the parks that you can come in and fix it now. The domestic parks have serious problems throughout.
There we go. Marco Squandales says, why do you think Disney spent so much money on a Tron roller coaster when Tron is barely known by younger generations and even some older generations? Should we expect some 300 million woke sequels in the future?
So there's a very interesting answer to this question, and I am glad you asked that. The reason the Tron attraction exists is because Disney needed, or they thought they needed, something that could go in that spot next to Space Mountain that they could bring in a new ride for Magic Kingdom to drive attendance and excitement, etc. And rather than go out and create something new, they looked to their catalog of rides that are already existing, and they found a lackluster attraction, a lackluster roller coaster that was designed for China. And China really doesn't have a history of roller coasters in its country. So when this thing was put there in the first place, they didn't spend a lot of time making it into an actual roller coaster that Westerners would love. Then, on top of that, Disney had the opportunity to make this attraction have the full experience by adding a second show building with a couple of helixes to increase the ride time and make it, more rewarding after you get off. They didn't do that. They stuck exactly with what they had. The problem here, though, is that attraction and the show building were never designed to go in that spot. And so when they cloned it in, they needed to at least move that canopy over to hide the show buildings. They didn't do that either. And so what you have now is you have a ride that looks tremendous from an angle. And then in terms of the ride quality itself, it is only about 58 seconds of fun. And I'd say it's really only about 25 seconds of fun. And from every other angle that's not the, oh my gosh, it's beautiful angle, it looks like a warehouse. And that's not something you want on your sight lines in the Magic Kingdom. It really does ruin the walkway, leaving Little Mermaid through New Fantasyland going towards Storybook Circus. It really does make it ugly.
There you go. Vidfile says, when do you think the strike will end? May 2024.
And I'm predicting. Okay, I'm going to hedge. Vidfile, that's a great question. I'm hedging here. I think it ends in February of 2024, unless government gets involved more.
Early or late?
Late.
Okay.
But if wow, good follow up there. But yeah, if government gets involved more, that changes everything, and you can't predict that. We don't know.
Yeah. Tax season. JB Spooky Review says, no Q. Congrats.
Well, that is the way to end. That was not spooky at all.
But it
all
was
right,
a
Steve.
review.
Well, that's right. Well, Steve, thank you so much for coming in and helping us do these questions. We wanted to do a special video answering all of these. Of course, folks, usually these Qs from you are available just to members who are at tier 2 and above, so not the entry level. But we wanted to give every single member out there perks that they could enjoy. We're also doing that, by the way, in that we're going to have a poll today for all of you to vote on the next emoji you would like to see for members to be able to use during our live stream. So all kinds of fun. Something else that's fun is Floral from Under a Rock. Steve, tell us all about your channel. What are you doing over there?
We are having Puppetly Fun, doing little fun commercials here and there for various people. We do our shows on Wednesday. That's our main show from 9 till 10 p.m. Eastern. And I've started up recently doing a little Sunday church under the rock, if you will, on the channel. So that's from basically 9:15 to 10:15 p.m. on Sundays, where I just kind of cover some Bible, and then whatever questions people have, we talk about it. So it's related to faith and all that kind of stuff. So it's a good time if you're interested in doing that. So we got the main show on Wednesdays and the little thing with me alone on Sundays. Other than that, we just got the little funny videos and things that we're trying to make, the little clips here and there. That's what I got. Thank you so much, Pro, for having me, and I appreciate all your support and encouragement.
Very cool. And Steve, I've been thrilled to see you and some of your characters appearing also over on the brand new YouTube channel, That Park Place. Folks, let me tell you, when we launched That Park Place, Jonas J. Campbell and Vash, the co-anchors there, when we launched this thing, we had some expectations for it. You all blew away those expectations. This channel is taking off like a rocket, and because of that, we think that this is actually going to work. We're really going to build, I know, right? We're really going to build an entertainment news network, and we're excited about that because finally, we're going to do that thing that the corporate mainstream media just can't do, and that is
stick it to the
tell
man.
the truth. Well, tell the truth, but not stick it to the man. Although we might, who knows? And the wool man, because we're all equal here. All right, well, folks, one thing that would help us be even more equal is perhaps clicking that like button, share, subscribe, and click it, stick it to the algorithms, hit the notification bell. How do you think we did with those questions? Drop your comments down below. Criticisms are accepted. Praises, we will take them as well, and anything in between. Folks, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
Floral, it's time for you to walk the plank.
What? Why?
Because you haven't subscribed to WDW Pro yet. Nor bookmark thatparkplace.com on your web browser to get great articles from great contributors.
What?